Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie Petroff. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Boris FX. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar that's introducing the new Sapphire 2019, which we released yesterday. Your hosts today are Brian Fox and Alan Lorence. What's
Hello,
new?
everybody.
Oh, hi, Brian.
Sorry.
How are you?
Hello. I'm good. Good. Just saying
Hi,
hello.
Alan. Sure. New inside Sapphire 2019, we've completely reimagined and redesigned the ever so popular LensFlare and Flare designer. We've included a PixelSort effect that's like a trendy new glitch art effect. There's a new WhipLash Transition that's kind of like a warp speed swish pan. There's a new animating shape tool inside Builder. The Mocha Essentials workspace is updated, and it now includes 4 new spline tools, including a magnetic spline tool with edge snapping. And we've also included some GPU acceleration for the fastest Sapphire yet. If you have any questions during the course of the webinar, simply type in your questions in the questions panel, and either Alan or myself will answer them. We have tons of prizes today, over $15,000 worth of VFX goods. Thank you so much to the Foundry, Adobe, Avid, Action VFX, and we're including our Boris FX suite. You need to stay to the end to claim your prizes. We are also offering a pretty major discount, 25% off individual product purchases. This offer is good through November 30th. You can only use it on our website through the web shop. The discount code is WEB-November18, and that discount applies to Continuum, Sapphire, MOCA Pro, individual purchases only. It includes new licenses, upgrades, and subscriptions. And finally, you can visit us and join our community on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks again for joining us, and I'm going to switch it over to Brian now.
Hello, everybody. Jesse, let me know if you can see that screen.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. My name is Brian Fox. I'm half of the product management team, along with Alan Lorence, who is manning the chat room. As Jesse said, any questions you guys have, feel free to throw them in the chat window, and Alan can answer those. And if Alan thinks like, any great question, or if I'm missing anything or wants to stop me, he will definitely jump in and we can answer questions live. We love the live element of these webinars. So, I definitely am gonna have a lot to kind of show you guys today with the new Sapphire 2019, but I would love questions as well. So feel free to fire away in the chat windows. So yes, Sapphire 2019, we're very excited to put forth the latest major version of Sapphire. We've been working on it for a year, so it's a big moment for us to be able to kind of release this to the industry. We're very excited. Exciting new effects like Jesse mentioned. We've done a lot of work with the LensFlare designer, a lot of cool new presets to show you guys and new functionality. We have a brand new transition called WhipLash, which I'm sure is going to be very popular. It's really cool and really fun to use. I think of it like swish pan on steroids. So that's a real fun one. And PixelSort, which is this really cool new glitchy, like digital damagey, like art effect that's very popular in music videos, and you see it a lot in Reddit groups on Photoshop and a lot of like glitchy kind of art as well. So also, MOCA 2019 was released about 2 weeks ago, and with MOCA 2019 came some new tools like the edge snapping tool, which we call the magnetic tool, which will automatically snap to an edge, and a freehand tool, and some new preset shapes. That was all included with the MOCA Pro release, and the integrated MOCA that's inside Sapphire also benefits from these new tools as well. So Sapphire 2019 has MOCA 2019 also integrated right inside of it. We get some new improvements to Builder. I'll finish up at the end, and then also, just to let you guys know that we've done some work with GPU accelerations on Sapphire 2019. So specifically, Adobe Premiere users and DaVinci Resolve colorists will see some of the largest gains from the GPU improvements. Okay, so without further ado, let's kind of jump into LensFlare and show you guys what's going on with it. So I'm in After Effects here, but later I'm going to jump into Media Composer, and I'll actually jump into Premiere as well. So everything you guys see here is going to work exactly the same in any host application we support. Sapphire 2019 is available for all host products, Avid, Adobe, Flame, Nuke, Resolve, Vegas, like whole bunch of different OFX applications like Mystica, and a lot of other ones I'm forgetting right now, Rio. So just good to know that it's basically all the same. I'm just showing you in After Effects because, to be honest with you, I'm most comfortable myself in After Effects. So LensFlare is obviously one of the most popular Sapphire effects. And at first glance, you'll look at it and you'll probably think like, oh, I don't really see anything has changed so much in the overall parameters. But once we jump into the lens designer, you'll see kind of the work we've done. So to get into the lens designer, if you've never used it before, you can go ahead and just click Edit Lens. And LensFlare will actually launch this new application, sorry, not new application, this application that we built called the Flare Designer. And in here, you'll start to see, if you've used this tool before, you'll notice some pretty kind of radical changes from the start. First and foremost, we have an integrated preset browser now within the Flare Designer. So in the past, you would have had to actually step out and go up to over in here and open a lens. And if you wanted to get a preset, you would have to jump back into the host app. And it was just kind of a convoluted process. And so we did a bunch of product research with talking to a bunch of artists and editors who use this tool a lot. And basically, like, some of the top feedback came in of like, it would really be great for you guys to integrate this preset browser directly into the Flare Designer. So over here, you'll notice some new tabs. So number one, the new tab, this is pretty exciting to us. These are all brand new LensFlare presets that are included with 2019, all designed by a bunch of professional artists. Ben Brownlee from Curious Turtle designed a lot of amazing new presets, along with Andrew Embry, who's a supremely talented After Effects artist up in Canada. Our own Alan Lorence designed some as well. So some really exciting new LensFlare presets to play around with in 2019. So along with the new tab, we also have a featured tab. And this is something that right now in this initial release, it's identical to the new tab because we're featuring all the new lens flares. But in the future, you can imagine, like, it's pretty obvious we're calling this Sapphire 2019. We're moving towards more of a kind of constantly updating Sapphire, adding in new features throughout the year. And you can imagine we can add in some new lens flare presets, and we can feature those in this feature tab. So we can change this with each different point release. So, just thinking off the top of my head, like a use of this could be, we could have a great new tutorial on how to, create an anamorphic lens flare, and then a new preset could come along with that tutorial, and we could put it right here in the featured component. So that could be nice and easy to access. Favorites, this is pretty self-explanatory. Any of our lens flares that we like, we can star, and they should show up in the favorites. I think after I step out and step back in. Another huge new category is this concept of components, and I'll get into that a little further, but components are basically like grouped together lens flare objects that make for creating a complex flare a lot easier. All of these like little proxies you see at the top here are lens flare objects, and components are multiple objects grouped together into one element. So in the past with a lens flare designer, if you wanted to create some of these cool components, like things like dust and a lot of these nice streaks and hoops, you would have had to create those from scratch and do it yourself. And that was fine, but that was also very difficult for a lot of people to do. So now we're actually giving you a lot of these components grouped together, and you can add them and modify them to use with your own lens flares. We have a new object at the top here, a little multi-streak. That's great. This is another requested item from kind of the user base. People wanted to create these kind of nice little multi-streaks, so we added that in as well. And the last tab in the integrated preset browser is all, and this is where you'll find all the Sapphire presets and all the lens flares that we offer. And we've done some work in here too. The Sapphire the Sapphire lens flare tool has been around for quite a long time. I believe since maybe Sapphire 6, which was quite a long time ago. And we've been accumulating presets over the years. So we took a step back this year and we went through and we kind of analyzed each individual preset, and we retired some ones we thought seemed a little older and dated. So those actually presets, they're still here, they're just hidden. So there is a way to turn those back on, but it's just good to know that if you actually had an older project, suppose you had an older batch setup or you had an older comp and you had a certain lens flare preset in it that we have deprecated, that will still work fine. You just won't see it in the preset browser. So it won't break any older projects or anything like that. And there, like I said, there is a way to actually turn on the older deprecated presets if you kind of don't agree, or maybe you see one of your favorite lens flare presets. We have deprecated. Definitely reach out to us on borisfx.com, the support window on the website, or chat us right on the website, and I can show you how to actually turn those deprecated presets on. So some really cool new beautiful lens flare presets you can see here. Really excited to show off some of these. This is, which one is this? Let me start with industrial. This is one of my favorites here. This is a new lens flare preset. Really fast interactive window here. I mean, not only did we kind of work on, adding new presets, objects, and components, we also added in some new functionality. We did some work on the gradients to apply to some of these options, and you can do some nice repeating gradients. We definitely spent a lot of time creating these new presets and making sure they're using some nice textures as well. You can see with this industrial, we're getting some nice color changes as we move through the comp, and that's being achieved through a nice texture that's overlaid. You see a lot of these nice little delicate objects as well to really add in that element of photorealism. This lens flare designer has always had the concept of edge triggers, which you can see here as I move over to the edge. We're actually getting a little bit of animation. And when I move it to the center as well, let's grab, let me get this crossing glass one. I think this has more of a severe edge trigger on it. As we move it over the edge, you can see that's a really strong edge trigger. So acting just like a real lens would if it came to the edge of a frame. Those edge triggers were always there, but they defaulted to off, so you had to know how to turn them on. They always default to on now, which is a nice little improvement. So we can actually see these edge triggers and what they're doing. If you want to use them back in your comp, you should always turn them back on. We don't want to assume that this is kind of what you want. But when you're in this flare designer building a flare, you definitely probably want to just see what the edge triggers are, and you can always turn them off if you want to just have no triggers as well, or use the plugin settings, which is how, if you've turned them on in the host, you can have them on in here as well. So you could see here, like this concept of we have these little pull downs in here. These are all this is that component workflow I talked about with multiple objects being grouped together. If I wanted to say, have this preset and I really like this, but I want to modify with this tool, it's really easy to identify what every object is and turn it on and turn it off just by clicking here and turning off certain elements, turning them back on, and then adding more complex elements too to create a custom flare. There's some really fun little components in here to add in things like dirt. So let's go ahead and we'll put this lens dirt number 3 on here, and you can see we're adding in some nice little lens dirt as well. Let me turn that off and maybe put on some hoops and get some nice different looks as well. So you can see with the concept of hoops here, this is a bunch of different elements grouped together into one actually component. So a really kind of fun way to use this lens flare to add on and kind of work with these presets. We really imagine people having some fun with the new presets and the new components and creating some new custom beautiful flares as well. So anything you build in the LensFlare Designer, think of this as actually you're programming your own lens flare. So sometimes people, the first time they use it, if I would have, created a position here, and then they'll jump back into After Effects. Let me turn on the background maybe and see my flare and think I'm going to put it over this mountain over here and then hit OK. It'll take a second to update. But you see here the position, it didn't change, and that's on purpose because when we're in the flare designer, you could think of it there like you're actually creating a custom flare. That's to actually like work on the flare, and a good way is to think of it like programmatically. We are actually just creating this new flare. Then when you jump back into your host, this is where you want to actually do positioning and animation and all that stuff as well. So just good to know. Don't be thrown off if you do a bunch of lens flare work and then you jump back to your host and you think like, oh, I just positioned it exactly over there. That position is really arbitrary. It's meant for you to look at it at all angles, move it around, and add and subtract elements and components. And then when you come back to your host, this is where you want to do your keyframing work, and this is where you want to do your actually animation as well. Just step and take a drink. So we're really excited about this new LensFlare tool. Like for me using it, for the past couple months now, I'm pretty much always in and out of the flare designer. I find it, you can always still go back and just load presets kind of the old-fashioned way. So I can come back into the host app and I can load my presets and I can click new and I can get at all those brand new presets that are in here. But I find this very limiting now because really when you're doing this type of work in here, you really don't have access to really the power of the flare designer. So to be honest with you, I've almost given up on the preset browser, and now I'm always just back and forth in the flare designer because there's always little elements you want to turn on and turn off. This is this anamorphic energy preset that's a really beautiful one. And I've been using this quite a lot. And there's always little elements in here you want to turn on and turn off. Like, when you actually go ahead and place this image, or you're trying to like emulate a photorealistic anamorphic flare, there's always just little elements you want to increase or you want to take away or you want to move them and really make it a custom. And once you kind of get used to having that power and flexibility, it's very limiting to go back to just the presets and using kind of the canned preset. It's a workflow you get pretty comfortable with pretty fast. Okay, so that's kind of a little overview of the LensFlare designer. Alan, does anybody have any questions in the forum in there that I can address before I move on to PixelSort?
We're getting a lot of questions related to the flares. Are they 3D flares? Is there tracking? Stuff like that.
Sure. So like all of Sapphire, good to know. Sapphire is like a 2D package, but the lens flares are capable to basically we do have a 3D mode, which you can assign any sort of lights, just like you've done. So if you have a animating light in an image and you've done some nice camera moves, you can assign a flare to a light, just like a lot of the other competitions like lens flares, like similar to the way that Video Copilot works, similar to the way that Boris Continuum lens flare works as well. So the 3D mode, like nothing's changed on that. That's been in there for a couple versions, but the flares themselves are 2D in nature. But it's like you can cheat that 2.5 kind of 3D mode as well. The tracking, like good to know that of course MOCA is integrated within every single Sapphire effect. The MOCA tracking right now is for occlusions in these lens flares. So if I wanted to actually, suppose this image right here, if I wanted to make sure my flare moved behind this rock, I could use the MOCA integrated tracking to, sorry about that, to track this mask and have the rock move in front of the flare. But the MOCA tracking that's currently in here has no concept of position. So it's not actually, you're not going to be able to track the lens flare as it moves around the scene. But there is a little known Sapphire effect called LensFlare Auto Track. And LensFlare Auto Track can be used combined with the integrated MOCA tracking masking to track that mask. To track the position of the lens flare. And on borisfx.com, we have a couple tutorials to show you how to use this technique. It's a little hacky, but basically what you do is you have one layer and you use MOCA to track the position of your mask, and then you output a white-black mask right from MOCA. And then on the layer above it, you use LensFlare Auto Track, and there's a parameter in there called track, and then you tell it to look one layer below for the white-black mask that MOCA is, you've just tracked with MOCA, and then Sapphire will follow the lens flare along with that. That's kind of the answer for now, but positional tracking with MOCA is definitely something we're looking at to improve for future releases. So hopefully in the future, you'll be able to basically just assign the center point of any MOCA mask to any parameter like hotspot right in here as well. If that's a long-winded way to answer your question.
A lot of questions. Sorry, Brian. A lot of questions also about GPU acceleration.
Yeah.
And if plans for being, for supporting Radeons and Macs and things.
Yeah, great questions. So Sapphire is currently accelerated on the CUDA platform. So if you have an NVIDIA card, you get some awesome GPU acceleration. Long ago we made the decision to go CUDA only with Sapphire, and that was specifically because like we felt that CUDA was the best and most robust language there was, and was actually like the fastest and best way. And a lot of our customers at like using large projects and doing a lot of VFX work, a lot of features in that world were 100% needed as much horsepower as they could. So that's kind of why we made the decision to go CUDA only. And back then when that decision was made, like hey, Macs, you could put an NVIDIA card in a 2013 MacBook. But fast forward to 2018, now definitely like AMD cards and OpenCL cards have kind of been the only solution for Macs. And sure, like as a product manager, P. Mallon and I talk about this a lot, like how can we get GPU acceleration for those Mac users? I don't think we have any plans in the immediate future to rewrite Sapphire for OpenCL, but I think what we are excited about is the whole concept of eGPUs. So I think in the future, definitely with these latest Macs, I think you'll see, Apple and NVIDIA start to play nicer together with an external GPU workflow. So being able to, have a NVIDIA card or a GTX card, and hang it off your MacBook or your trash can in a, with a Thunderbolt 3 little enclosure. That's kind of, I think, the future for GPU acceleration on the Macs. But I mean, it's definitely something we're looking at, but unfortunately, I don't think we have any immediate plans on the roadmap to kind of rewrite Sapphire for OpenCL. Only because, like I said, we're always interested in performance, and we just feel like NVIDIA is by far the most superior solution for our customers. We always want to advise you to kind of get the fastest and beefiest horsepower, and definitely that's with NVIDIA cards in the CUDA language. What else, Alan? Anything else in there?
Some questions about specific OFX hosts.
Sure.
I couldn't find the information right off the hand, like Scratch and Mystica. I know they were supported in past versions. Are they? Does this release support them?
Yes, great question. So basically, Sapphire supports a whole bunch of different OFX hosts, and we have some that we will officially support through and through And that means that like when we say we officially support Resolve as an OFX host, that means that every single feature of Sapphire works in there. Like our effect builder works, the integrated MOCA tracking works. And at that point, we will officially support an OFX host. So um, some of the other hosts that we call, kind of like a second tier of OFX support, specifically like Mystica. So Mystica, Sapphire works great in Mystica. It's, we were actually at a trade show in Amsterdam, with the SGO folks who are fantastic, and seeing it works blazingly fast in Mystica. But and actually the MOCA tracking works as well, but per se, like the builder doesn't work. And that's something we're going to work with them on. But our effect builder does some really complex things under the hood, and that requires us to go back and forth to kind of help them out to understand kind of the needs we have to do that. So while we say that like things like Mystica are not currently supported as an OFX host, Sapphire definitely works in there and works fine. It's just that all the features don't work. So like things like the officially supported OFX hosts are, Nuke, Resolve. Um, I'm trying to think which other ones I'm blanking off the top of my head here. But some second tier hosts like Scratch. Scratch is, once again, Sapphire is blazingly fast in Scratch, as we know Scratch is such a fast application. And we always tell people the same thing, like go ahead and download the free trial and try and install it, and for kind of see what the experience is like. But just know that if it's not on the website as an officially supported host, there may be some features that that aren't going to work in there. But overall, it's things like S-Glow, LensFlare, all those things are going to work. One of the only issues we have currently right now is with Baselight. We're only supporting Baselight 4. There's a new version of Baselight 5, which is out right now. And things like the preset browser, that has some problems, and it has some like kind of issues under the hood that we're working with Filmlight on to kind of support Baselight 5 as well. But if you go on the new Sapphire product page, there is a link to what's called the Sapphire compatibility matrix, which is right in the little overview section, and you can click on that, and all the information is laid out for the officially supported OFX hosts. Okay.
Maybe one more question before I guess you can move on. This was asked right at the beginning of this webinar. So, do the effects support 360-degree compositions?
Oh, great question. So, as of right now, nothing Sapphire supports any sort of 180 or 360 workflows. There is a cool plugin out there, and I'm blanking on the name of it right now, but in After Effects, it could take any plugin and make them 360. So we've heard of customers using that. It basically is gonna wrap and copy the plugin and kind of cover the seams and blend them together. And certain Sapphire effects are going to work awesome in that scenario, like glow, for instance. Others like any of our textures or something like that, you may see like the repeating pattern in there. But if you're interested in 360 plugins right now, you really should be looking at the Boris Continuum set. They have a VR unit, and they have a set of effects that work in 360. Things like the Continuum Magic Sharp and Continuum Blur. That's really the best answer right now for VR plugins. Definitely in the future, thinking about Sapphire and 360, though, that's something we talk about a lot. And wouldn't that be awesome to have a full, just 360 mode that you could turn on, and all the Sapphire plugins would work in 360. Okay, let's jump into PixelSort. PixelSort, the first time I saw PixelSort actually was in the Photoshop world. And I'm definitely a fan of everything that's going on with glitch art and a lot of these like crazy funky algorithms that are kind of destroying images and making modern art out of them. So what PixelSort is PixelSort is currently it defaults to a linear pattern, and on this line it's taking all the pixels and it's sorting them together via a threshold. So it's taking, it's going to take all the white pixels along a line and all the black pixels and sort them together in a linear pattern. So let me go ahead and turn some parameters off here. I'm going to turn some of this stuff here and turn the threshold down. So here is like what we like to call like a full sort. And you can see here I've moved all the black pixels along a line and grouped them all together along a white, only the white is over on the edge here. So you can work with a threshold to dial down all those images. So now, like if you use Sapphire before, you're typical with our concept of a threshold. You can look at the threshold mask here to see actually what we're sorting together and to get a cool different effect. And we can get some nice sorts here. And obviously this animates, like any other Sapphire effect as well. But you don't just have to do a little kind of 90-degree angle here. You can change the angles all you want. You can move them around. You can do some 45s. You can get some verticals and some diagonals. And there's a lot of fun parameters to play with in here. Like we've put in things like randomly restart sort. So if you turn that down, you'll be doing, like I said, what we call the true sort. But if you turn this up, you'll just randomly restart the sort along the line, and that will give you a different look as well. You can soften that threshold mask. So if you go ahead and we jump back into the threshold mask, you can see like this would be just a normal threshold, but you can soften that up, and that gives you again like kind of like a more desirable aesthetic look as well. So this is ways that pixel sorting has kind of been around a while, but we really studied it and thought like, how can we take this effect to the next level? How could we include some new params in here that allow people to create some cool looks as well? And you don't have to sort just upon a linear like pixel sort too. We also have a couple different options like radial. And so radial here is like, instead of sorting upon a linear line, it's sorting from a center point and kind of moving diagonal out, and you can move that center point around, as you can see here. And you can change the radius, you can change the length, of course, threshold. You can even do some circular sorts as well, so which is pretty cool. So now instead of sorting along either a linear line or a radial line, we're sorting along concentric circles as they blast out from a center point. And you can adjust the angles as well. You can do a full, as you can see here, we can get some really cool effects with pixel sorting and the radials. So we're really excited about all these different modes in here. Definitely get in and play around with these. It works great with the integrated MOCA as well. Let me jump into a different example here. This is from a horror movie called The Cleansing Hour. It's donated by Scubalong Productions and our friend Damien Levesque. Shout out to Damien. He's kind of this was a short that he's now directing the feature-length version of it. In this effect, he used a lot of digital glitchy effects in this horror movie. So this is a great example of pixel sort as well. What works so well in this image is the natural flicker that's going on, is actually works great with the pixel sort, because if you think if you're flickering, you're affecting brightness and the values, so you're getting some like natural animation to the pixel sort, which works awesome. And just to show off like how MOCA can do it, if I wanted to just affect her and not the background, really easy to do with just simple masking in MOCA. And you can fully track this mask. Just go ahead and just do a basic. And then I'm gonna blur that mask out a little bit. And that way we can confine the pixel sort just to her. But what's good to know is it's not just a hard mask, like the actual, the mask input, those are the pixels we're giving pixel sort to sort. So it's not just a hard mask, we actually are doing a kind of custom effect when we kind of feed and use MOCA to feed specific pixels to sort into PixelSort. So you can get some really cool effects as well. And we're definitely going to be doing some fun tutorials in the future of doing some neat new effects with PixelSort. Actually, it looks really cool when you combine it with some of the classic Sapphire effects like Sapphire Distort. If you distort the image and then apply a PixelSort to the distorted image, or the other way around, if you actually apply any of the warping tools like warp waves to a PixelSort, you'll get some really funky different looks as well. So really excited that we have this new tool to kind of throw into the Sapphire tool set. It's a fun one, and definitely in the early beta we started to get some really neat images from some of the artists using it for the first time. PixelSort has a whole, oh sure.
Hey, I just have a question. People have been
Yeah.
asking what unit the PixelSort is actually in, and I don't know the answer.
Stylize. This is
Stylize.
highly debated whether it should be in distort or not, but we ended up putting it in Stylize because Stylize is where you'll find a lot of like, effects that we think are going to be used to create a new look, things that are used for music videos and different kind of treatments. So yeah, that's where you'll find style. That's where you find PixelSort is in the Stylize category.
Thank you.
Sure. So presets, of course, with every Sapphire effect, you'll find some presets in here. So we created some stuff like, just to kind of show you what the example was, the diagonal sorts, some falling sorts, and rising sorts, and some full streaks as well, and some true sorts. So definitely some presets to kind of show you the capabilities of what you can do with this effect. Really fun one. I've had a lot of fun playing this one over the past months. Okay, so I want to show you guys WhipLash too. I'm going to jump into Media Composer because WhipLash is a transition. And so WhipLash, like I said, it is like swish pan on steroids. You can see here, like the difference between, WhipLash and Sapphire swish pan is that WhipLash can use multiple copies of the image together. And so you can actually travel further and faster. Like if you think about, like, let's step through here, like a WhipLash, you would just have one, copy of the image. You have an A side and a B side, and you would be whipping across that and doing some blurring. But with WhipLash, you can actually have multiple copies together. So you can really cheat like that we're moving a great distance. And then of course we can have, the different type of rotations and scales. So we can do some suckbacks, and we can do some kind of zooms in and some diagonal whiplashes as well. And another kind of really cool thing about WhipLash is that it features a custom stopping point. So this example here is what we call a smooth finish. And then here on this one, you'll notice it has a little bounce to it. And then on this actually WhipLash preset, there's a little snapback. So that's kind of why we named it WhipLash, because there's not just a smooth finish, it'll whip back. So it gives it a little something extra to play with.
Hey Brian,
sure.
It might not be playing back smooth enough to actually see that. Can you single frame step through it, or do it more slowly?
Sure. So this is the bounce back. And if you can see there, that little settling of that natural oscillation, it's going to go ahead and land on your last frame, and then it's going to kind of just give it a little bit of a 1-2 oscillation to give a nice little bounce back. And then the snap back is just a harsher snap. So it's just going to really hit the endpoint and then give you like 2 or 3 frame of a little snap back. And it's definitely a subtle like thing, but it's actually very interesting when you start to play with this effect, and you'll just, it'll default to smooth. Let me just jump in so we can show you kind of where the options are. So you'll default to the whip out here will be smooth, but like I said, you can choose bounce or snapback. Definitely play around with smooth for a while. Try some different looks, and then try applying the bounce and snapbacks, and you'll notice a big difference. And it's a cool little param because it gives you like a whole new transition. Quick little tour very quickly, the concept of shifting. This is the amount of frames that you will shift. So when it defaults to 4, it's doing 2 on the A side and 2 on the B side. If I did 8 here, and then let's go ahead. You'll now basically be doing 4 on one side and 4 on the other as well. You know, other parameters to look at are things like scaling, things like rotation. You can add in more motion blur if you want. You can add in less. And we also have added in a little RGB blurring and shifting, so you can shift the RGB channels to get a different look as well, and just add a little kind of colorful little swish into the WhipLash as well. So I just changed the params to 8 here, and if I step through now, you'll see, apologize to all non-Celtics fans out there, but thank you to the Boston Celtics for donating this footage as well of the best basketball team out right now. So if you see Tatum here, if we concentrate on number 0, you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 copies through. And if I play through, probably guys can't see that because it's probably a little too slow for the webinar. But it's traveling now a great distance. And you can just play with that. You know, obviously, like, you know, it works great. You'll kind of figure out the balance. About an 8 to 10 work great at a 30 frame. You know, if you try and do like a 12, which is 6 copies on each side at a 6 frame, it'll be a really frenetic, fast transition. But I also like doing diagonals as well. And the way you achieve a diagonal is if I'm doing, like, say, a shift of 8 along the X, let's go ahead and do a shift of 6 along the Y, and we'll get these really cool diagonals as well. And the diagonals look great at a really short transition. So let's do like an 8 frame. And you'll get these really cool, fast little swish pans in there as well. So once again, swish pan, get in there and play with the transitions. Sorry, I'm running out of time here, but get into WhipLash and look at the transitions. This is a great way to learn the effect. We always recommend to do this with all the Sapphire effects. So to look at the transitions to see kind of what's going on and what it can do, and that'll kind of get your mind around what is possible the effect, and then you can kind of create something custom on your own. So WhipLash is pretty exciting. Definitely some great initial reaction to this new kind of classic Sapphire transition. One other area we did some improvement on is in the builder. So we've added in this new animating shape tool in the Sapphire effect builder, and that has allowed us to create some of these what we call like hand-drawn transitions, and some of these almost like kind of retro shape wipes. So that's really exciting. Let me jump into Builder and kind of show you what's going on here. Some of these are really impressive how they've created. If you guys have never seen the Sapphire Effect Builder here, what it is it's a little nodal-based compositor that we created. It's available only in After Effects, Premiere, Media Composer, Resolve, and Fusion right now, and allows you to take multiple Sapphire effects and combine them into new ones. So we get into the builder by hitting Edit Effects, and you launch the effect builder, like I said, which is a little nodal based kind of effect compositor where you can combine all different Sapphire effects into new ones as well. And so this is a pretty complex one. And let me just step out for 1 second. And the cool part about the builder here is basically it's something like this we were never able to do this type of effect in the past because you needed to animate a shape, and you didn't have that capabilities in the past to be able to do that. So we've added in this new animating shape tool, which allows you to just do some simple type. Let's go ahead and just preview this select one. Some simple animating shapes, and then we're just using a ton of different Sapphire effects here to warp that shape and create something completely new. This is almost like a procedural effect where you're building kind of these little star splashes and then warping these type things. So here's my animating shape that at its core, this is the new tool in Builder. And then it allows you to do so much on top of this. Alan created this one. It's really impressive. And don't be intimidated like when you see something that's pretty complex like this to create this effect, because it is a simple preset. So if we jump into Builder and look at the presets, go ahead and just jump and we'll sort by date here. There's a whole bunch of super like neat Sapphire effects that are all built within Builder that are in here. If you guys have never used it before, there's basically like 150 new Sapphire effects here that a lot of outside editors have built. But you'll see here all of these new kind of complex transitions are all just presets. So it's literally just a drag and drop at this point. So don't feel intimidated like you have to kind of create this stuff on your own. But what it does is allow us to create these stuff. It allows us to work with outside editors and artists to create these type of effects. And then we can include them in every new Sapphire release. So things like these multi-shape wipes are something that we could do now with the animating shape tool. We could always just wipe and do a circle wipe, and now we can wipe to a different color and wipe back. And stuff like this as well with this neat little rectangle wipe and the multicolored triangle wipes. But by far, in my opinion, some of these like really neat hand-drawn transitions are pretty impressive, and obviously work great on any sort of animated content, or if you're ever trying to do this stuff by hand, it can be a complete pain in the butt. So it's a lot easier to work with a Builder from a preset transition.
Got a few more questions if you have a.
Yeah, of course.
If you're ready to jump into those. So
yeah,
a lot of questions about Fusion 9.
Yes.
And if we're supporting that yet.
So there's two versions of Fusion. There's the Fusion that's inside Resolve 15, and we're currently supporting that. That actually is the 5th Builder supported host. Resolve has always supported the Effect Builder, and now Fusion inside Resolve is fully supported as well. The standalone version of Fusion, I believe, still has some issues we're trying to work out, but I'm not quite sure of the answer on that. I believe the Fusion 9 standalone is fully supported, but check on the website. That's where the most up-to-date info is. I think there was still some minor issues we were working out, but I don't think you should run into any problems with Fusion 9. Any other questions, Alan?
I'm scanning.
Sure.
Question about Blackmagic eGPUs, if we've tested with that. I would think the answer to that is we probably have not tested it yet.
Yes. I don't think we actually have tested the new Blackmagic eGPUs yet. Look for us to do that in the coming months. Actually, we had a discussion about it today. I don't foresee any problems with that, but like I said, that could just be me speaking. Let us get it and test it, and like I said, we'll definitely announce officially when we're supporting that stuff. I definitely know on the Mac side, there's still some. Apple has yet to release some NVIDIA drivers for the eGPU workflow. So it's funny, like internally here, we've had external GPUs working for quite a long time, but it required you to write your own drivers, and definitely like you needed to be a developer to kind of get it set up and running. But like look for our announcement when we officially support those eGPUs in the next coming months. But it's an exciting time right now in terms of external GPUs. It could be a real game changer for a lot of people. I mean, to be able to just kind of hang a Quadro card off a MacBook is pretty crazy.
Can you just briefly review for people what Builder is? Also, I guess maybe mention that there's 2 flavors of it, and then
Yeah,
which hosts again support that.
sure. Let's go ahead and jump into oh my God, we totally didn't even talk about MOCA. We should talk about MOCA too. Let me just quickly kind of just explain what Builder is. So Builder is, there are 2 flavors to it, the S Effect and S Transition. And what it is if you use S Effect, that's to build a custom effect, and the S Transition is to build a custom transition. So here I've applied S Effect onto a clip in After Effects. Builder supports After Effects, Premiere, Avid Media Composer, Resolve, and like I said before, the Fusion that is integrated within Resolve. When you hit Edit Effect, you launch our little builder. And what we can do in here is you'll see all Sapphire effects on the left here. And I can actually keyword search. I can grab Film Effect, probably one of my favorite Sapphire effects, which is a little color grading tool. And then I can add LensFlare. Go ahead and put one of the LensFlares up. And let's move it over in the corner there. And then I'll add one more Sapphire effect to like light leaks. And so I'm just stacking these. I'm going to do a very basic stack here. So now I have those 3 effects combined. And when I jump back into my host app, those now are all one single effect. So you'll see these like they're just basically one effect in After Effects, but combined under the hood, it is all those Sapphire effects combined. So that is the most like kind of high level introduction of what Builder is. It allows you to take multiple effects and combine them and basically make your own plugin. You can control the parameters that get exposed. You can turn things off. You can turn things on. You can share these complex effects between hosts. So you can take this look you've designed in After Effects and you can open that look up in Media Composer. You can do some rudimentary animation inside Builder. You can input matte layers. So you can put like imagine you have a talent against green and you can, put the matte in to, inside Builder, and you can do some light wrapping and that kind of thing.
Because we're short on time, I'm just going to sum it up and say Builder is definitely worth checking out. If you've not
sorry.
before, it's got so much power.
It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
There is a question, Brian. This is specific about Premiere, but will tracking work inside Premiere now?
The MOCA tracking, so the integrated tracking with inside Sapphire works 100%, and that is limited to tracking and masking a Sapphire effect. There is an issue we're working with the Premiere team right now with MOCA Pro for, I believe it's like, I'm sorry if I misspeak, but I think it's copying and pasting the tracking data. That's something that we're working on fixing with them, but there's no issues with the integrated MOCA tracking within Sapphire, just the separate MOCA Pro plugin. And speaking of MOCA, very quickly, I'm just going to show you the improvements in MOCA because it's pretty neat. Let me just grab any Sapphire effect. Let's do edge detect, right? And I'm going to jump into MOCA, and you'll see here, this is a whole new interface. This is MOCA 2019, the Essentials view. They completely redid the UI, super friendly for Retina monitors and high DPI monitors. It looks great on 4K monitors. You'll see it's a very simpler interface now with some nice big buttons, very self-explanatory as to what's going on. If you want to go back to the classic mode, you can always go back to the classic mode. So you're not like limited to just the new Essentials mode. So if you want to get it, the dope sheet and all the advanced MOCA parameters, all that stuff is still in there. But the Essentials mode is pretty awesome. So there are some new tools in MOCA here. We have the magnetic tool. So watch this. You can see here, I'm auto attracting right here. I can put some points. and you'll see it's just like almost like a Photoshop magnetic tool. And what's really neat is there's also a freehand drawing tool now. And if you hold down your mouse, you can switch between the freehand drawing, and then now I've just clicked, and now I'm back to magnetic mode. And to go around the edge, I can do a nice little freehand, and then back. It's super slick. So if you had a little blurry part of the image, you can go from freehand to spline. And now this is all like active splines here. So we can go ahead and track that and just apply the effect to the tracked mask. Really neat stuff. The magnetic tool is a huge leap. Once you start using it, it's one of those tools that you're like, how did I live without this? It just works really well. And also, this is actually really neat too. There are some preset shape tools as well. So you can go in here and do some square. This is great for me because using MOCA, I can't tell you how many times I was trying to draw I would have to go in and I would, draw a circle like this, and then I would have to grab everything and try and get it like this, and then I'd be moving stuff around and trying to get this a perfect circle. And now you can just draw it. So thank you to the MOCA team. That's some really time-saving tools as well. Now, just so we can go ahead and back here, just so how this works in Sapphire, just so we know, we've drawn that mask, we've tracked that mask. I save and quit, and you'll see now that effect is held back by the mask, and we can soften it up, and we can get a really nice, neat effect that'll be tracked right to her lips. So that's the way that the MOCA tracking works in Sapphire. Apologize once again. We've tried to cram too much content in an hour here. I know we have some prizes to give away, Jesse, right? I'm sure we want to do that before we're done.
Yes, sorry, I was muted and couldn't unmute myself. All right, so congratulations to Edward Winslow, who's won the one-year Foundry Production Collection. Congratulations to Artem Cass, who has won the one-year Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. Congratulations to Amy Nelson, who has won the one-year Avid Media Composer subscription. We have 5 winners of $200 gift certificates to Action VFX. Those winners are Yu Kobayashi, Alan Dubin, Megan Thomas, Suzanne Hemphill, and Jan Mallard. And finally, we have the Boris FX suite, which includes Sapphire, Continuum, and MOCA Pro for a 1-year subscription. And that lucky winner is Daryl Judd.
Very cool. Congratulations, guys. Alan, any other questions in the forum that we can get to in these last couple of minutes?
Kind of. Here's an easy one. Is there a Mac OS minimum? I don't remember what that is now.
I believe it's Sierra. I'm not quite sure on that. That's actually a great question. I don't know of any problems with, like, once again, that's a great thing to look on the website for in the compatibility matrix. Like, and you find that just go to the borisfx.com, go to the Sapphire product page. In the overview for Sapphire 2019, at the very top, you'll see just a link right to that chart, and that chart has a lot of great info, such as OSS flavors and NVIDIA CUDA drivers and that kind of stuff. But I believe it is Sierra. I think we're at currently with 2019. It's Sierra, High Sierra, and Mojave.
Okay, cool. We covered a lot of these. I'm just kind of reviewing if there's anything we missed.
Sure.
I guess I could say if anybody has additional questions or something that didn't get answered satisfactorily, feel free to email me directly. I am one of the product managers for Sapphire, so it's just Alan at borisfx.com, ALAN at borisfx. Feel free to ask any questions there. I know sometimes it's hard to watch and ask questions at the same time, so definitely, if all of you have not taken a look at Sapphire, some of the intro videos that we have on the website, and then download the trial and take a look. Maybe you'll have more questions after you've actually played with it a little bit. But yeah, a lot in there.
Yeah, it's an exciting new release, and like I said, there's tons of ways to ask us questions. I mean, feel free to to message us on Facebook. You know, we monitor that. I'm usually the one. Jesse, Alan, and myself, we're always monitoring the Boris FX Facebook. You can tweet at us. We actually have a chat on the website. So if you jump on a Boris FX, a little chat window will come up. You can always, ask one of the sales guys a question and they'll pass it along to the product managers. We're definitely here for you. So use this as a resource. Any questions you have about these products, definitely reach out and we'll try our best to answer them. Tons of content on the Boris FX YouTube channel. There's actually a video section on borisfx.com. It's a great place to kind of learn some more tutorials. There's a Sapphire TV section along with MOCA and Continuum. And there's a Vimeo page as well. So definitely lots of content out there. And look for us to be releasing more content specific to this 2019 release. But just like Alan said, if you're interested in learning more about LensFlare, Ben Brownlee has a video which is live right now, which is a 15-minute deep dive. You know, Alan's done a video kind of doing a short little overview of WhipLash. I've done one on PixelSort and Builder as well. So there's definitely like a lot of content on the Boris FX site for you guys to dive into. But thank you so much.
I also want to quickly mention, a lot of people have been asking, we recorded this webinar live and it'll be up on our website early next week, and you'll also receive an email with the link.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. Congratulations to the winners, some fantastic prizes. Appreciate everyone's time and watching us talk about Sapphire 2019 and show off all these new features. Definitely go to borisfx.com and download a free trial and try it out for yourself. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Enjoy your weekends.